Part 4. Little Miss Ivy. Back blast area clear. I'm about to throw another truth bomb. Huh? I don't know how much more they can take. They have sinew of iron. They shall not be moved. Under Hittite invasion. Quote, for reasons unknown, the Hittites moved into Central Asia Minor, conquering the Hittins and later adopting their culture and name. I'm going to read that again. For reasons unknown, the Hittites moved into Central Asia Minor, conquering the Hittins, Hattins, and later adopting their culture and name. Stop. Bingo! For reasons unknown, a supposedly nomadic tribe conquered and adopted the conquered culture and name, huh? Wow. Sounds like somebody was trying to have some cover. Allow me to broker an understanding between you and I. Some would say reason with each other, Israelite to Israelite. Before you scream, never! Hear me out first. It appears, my dear Phoenix, each and every major civilization we've gone over thus far has had a shadow humanity of new and fresh people waiting, lurking, and calculating the right time to topple superpowers and take over their names, culture, and complete identity. If you and I can reason with each other on this fundamental yet common fact throughout the rest of this series, you can glean a lot more of the information than if you were simply waiting on me to make a mistake. Saying that, let's continue for more clues, shall we? Quote, this invasion by the Hittites displaced other peoples living in Anatolia, who in turn displaced the Middle Helladic Greek-speaking people of the West. Stop! We can look at this information in two ways, people. The first, at face value, in that one nation of people displaced an entire subcontinent. Or we can look at the evidence with the understanding that the Hittites were a group of nations, thus the reason a group of nations were displaced. You pick which understanding fits. But while you're doing that, me and Miss Phoenix and Miss Ivy, we gonna move on. Notice how they were this. Quote, this enforced an exodus from northeastern Anatolia, created a, quote, wave of refugees who invaded what is now southern Greece and destroyed the early Helladic civilization. Stop. When have you ever heard of refugees invading and destroying the lands they are seeking asylum in? I don't know about you, but they don't sound like refugees to me. They sound like the other diverse elements of the main body of Hittites. But let's continue for more clues, shall we? Listen to the sheer magnitude of what they consider refugee destruction and what I consider netherworld invasion. Under destruction. Quote, archaeological evidence show that the cities of Iram, Civilis, something that starts with a P, H near B, K near H, and M near Civis were destroyed during the Middle Bronze Age. The great trading city of Kanesh was also destroyed. From there in the hill country between H and the destruction layers from this time tells the same story. K, B, P, and G were burnt as well as E and C. Further west near D, the two large mounds of K and T, west of K, show the same signs of being destroyed. The destruction even crossed into Europe, into what is now Bulgaria. The migration brought an end to Bulgaria's early Bronze Age, with archaeological evidence showing that the Y, S, and E centers had a sudden mass desertion during this time. Stop! Now, I know Miss Sharon is laughing her head off at me, but they saw million or so diverse clone armies coming their way and got the hell on. Surely what they feared wasn't a single horde of barbarian nomads and decided to vamoose, then face them in fortified cities. No! I envision a Xerxes-style army of clone netherworld misfits, longheads, and Soutine giants. Let's continue if you don't believe me. Under Into Greece. Quote, from the D, the refugee invaders moved into mainland Greece, and the P saw burnt and abandoned cities on par with the much later Dorian invasion, which destroyed the Mycenaean civilization. Stop! The Dorian invasion is about an invasion of the exact same kind in the Iron Age by people called the Dorians. I suspect they were the Coneheads. In fact, real quick, here is something most people don't know. According to Wikipedia, under Dorians, D-O-R-I-A-N-S, quote, the Dorians were one of the four major ethnic groups among which the Hellenes, which is the Greeks, of classical Greece considered themselves divided, along with the something that starts with an A, the Alcanins, and the Ionians. They were diverse in way of life and social organization, varying from the populous trade center of the city of Corinth to the isolationist military state of Sparta. And yet, all Hellenes knew the localities were Dorians and which ones were not. Example, which can only mean the Greeks were a diverse humanity in their own right of an earlier wave, and the Dorians were some bad mother suckers that looked different. Saying all that, let's continue with the original article, please. Oh yeah, remember back in the earlier discovery when we deduced through the evidence of Tiglath-Pileser, the diversified supernation fight together as one unit, and as they conquer different nations, one of their sub-nations are awarded their own kingdom with elite class representation that has agreements to mate with each other? I know that was a lot, but if you remember all that, check out what they say next and tell me if the shoe fits. Quote, this destruction across Greece also coincided with the arrival of a new culture that had no connection with the early Hellenic civilization, who were the original inhabitants. Example, bingo! They didn't just slash and burn, sack and raise. They did exactly like the Netherworldians did before them and after them. They replenished and subdued, terraformed and settled as they went. Before we move on to another shadow kingdom, there are a couple of extremely interesting facts about the Hittites during the early 14th century BC that I want you guys to check out. You ready? According to Wikipedia, under Prehistory of Anatolia, under Hittites, cutting to the chase. Quote, King Tudhaliya the First, which was early 14th century BC, ushered in a new era of Hittite power, often referred to as the Hittite Empire. Listen up, listen up. The kings, with an S, took on a divine role in Hittite society. Let me say it again. The kings took on a divine role in Hittite society, and the Hittite peoples, often allied with neighboring such as the Kizzuwatna, began to expand again, moving into western Anatolia, absorbing the Luwians state and Azarwa and the Asuwa League. Stop. I guess you may be wondering what I perceive so interesting about this. What would be the compound probability? Actuarial science. Little Ivy. Yep, the odds. The Hittite king and swayback head Akhenaten both considered themselves divine at the exact same time in history. Miss Reader, are you starting to catch my drift yet? Yep. Now think back to the Armada letters and the Viceroy wondering why Akhenaten wasn't defending certain territories. This is the real reason Akhenaten didn't care about the Haribu and the Apuri raiding certain lands, and why he actually used these same people against others. And the last thing I want to bring up about the Hittites directly is the fact they are all tall and white people. Not only that, if you look at the reliefs, they are cloned white people with very little variance. I say very little because somehow the scholars see more than I do. Check it out. Under Physionomy, say it again. Wow. Physiognomy. Quote, some scholars thought that Huttans and Hittites had perhaps different personal characteristics, though most Anatolian societies in the Bronze Age were multilingual. Egyptian depictions of the Battle of Kadesh reportedly show long-nosed Hittite soldiers, while their Hittite leaders look different according to Turkish archaeologist something something. Example. Again, I don't see any difference in the Hittite leaders, but just like Tiglath-Pileser's Assyrian/Babylonian army and the Greeks, the Hittite land attack was multilingual, which can only mean they were multiracial as well. Now allow me to show you yet another multiracial humanity going under one banner. Remember our Genesis 10 discovery that not all of the sons of Elam are the seed of Shem? And remember our earlier discovery of the Kassites being a small military band of elites who, along with the help with the Elamites, took over Babylon and reigned for over 400 years? You remember, when they were finally overthrown, the king and his court found refuge in Elam. And remember the remarkable discovery of the elites of the Kassites, Elam, Egypt, and somebody else, I can't remember, had an agreement to marry each other? If you said yes to all three of these questions, check out the shadow humanity that enabled all this to happen to begin with.